बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। हम वाइंडिंग अप का चैप्टर देख रहे हैं जी कंपनी में, दैट इज़ पार्ट 10 वाइंडिंग अप। इसमें हम जो है वी हैव सीन दैट अंडर सेक्शन 293 देर आर थ्री मोड्स ऑफ वाइंडिंग अप ऑफ ए कंपनी. One is the by the court, and grounds for winding up by the court are given in section 301. उसमें जो है वी हैव डिस्कस्ड इन डिटेल दैट how a company and under what circumstances a company can be wound up. और इसमें जो इम्पोर्टेंट आस्पेक्ट ये है कि इसमें कंपनी की अपनी चॉइस नहीं होती, कंपनी एक एज ए गोइंग कंसर्न चल रही होती है और वेरियस ड्यू टू वेरियस ब्रीचेस ऑफ द लॉ itself, either certain members decide to pursue winding up in court, or company is not doing good in the business, then the creditors have the right to file a winding up petition because company is unable to pay its debts. और जो लास्टली है रजिस्ट्रार और दी SECP हैज़ दी पावर to file a winding up against the company in certain circumstances. And उसमें जो primarily जो reason होती है normally the company is not pursuing the business as per the clauses of the memorandum, or it is engaged in some unlawful business, or there can be certain situation where the company could not file the statutory returns or hold the general meetings. और उसकी जो प्राइमरी वजह यही होती है कि क्योंकि कंपनी जो है वो रेलिवेंट डिस्क्लोजर जो है या ट्रांसपेरेंसी नहीं करती अपने मामलात में, एंड इट कुड नॉट यू नो द मैनेजमेंट कुड नॉट फुलफिल द fiduciary relationship they have with the all the shareholders. So in that case जो है वो कमीशन के पास इख्तियार होता है कि वो वाइंडिंग अप फाइल करे. सो वी हैव सीन दैट इन डिटेल इन आवर अदर लेक्चर. टुडे वी विल फोकस ऑन द second mode of winding up, which is given under section 293, and that is the voluntary winding up. The most crucial thing in the voluntary winding up is that it is a right given to the creditors or the members themselves that they can wound up the company, and it will generally be without intervention of the court. We will see that there are certain instances, or I mean there is a room to go to the court where certain deadlock is created. Deadlock is created between the members or the other stakeholders of the company, primarily the creditors themselves, or the official liquidator might approach the court for seeking certain clarification. The rationale for having the court's intervention alive even in the case of voluntary winding up is that we have seen under the Companies Act that court has the overarching or a supervisory role in safeguarding the interest of all the stakeholders of the company, because company works in the public domain, and very few people run the company on behalf of maybe thousands of shareholders. So there is a chance that they might act in conflict to their fiduciary relationship with the company, or I mean they hold all the funds of the company under a trust, and they are expected to decide the affairs or run the affairs of the company in the best interest of the shareholders who are not already present there to look after their own interest. So the purpose of having a supervisory role of the SECP itself, and in most of the cases the company court, is that the affairs of the company should be run without causing any prejudice to the persons who are making investment in the company or the creditors of the company. And it is because the corporate world or the large scale companies basically are the backbones of a country, and the state in a way has to have a check that these companies do good. So as long as these companies are doing good, it is not only good for the investors themselves, but it also helps the countries to boost their economy. I mean, we can have example of Apple, we can have the example of Microsoft. I mean, these are huge companies. Then there are very large scale companies in China. Then I mean, we have, I mean, certain large scale companies in Pakistan like Angro, like Coca-Cola, Nestle, or the Descon, etc. So I mean, these large scale companies are very important, and the state is bound to secure the rights of all the shareholders so as to boost their confidence, and people make investment without any fear of their investment being jeopardized. So coming back to the topic, the voluntary winding up is generally initiated by the members themselves, the shareholders, or it can also be initiated by the creditors. Creditors, are have a very important role in the company. The shareholders might not always have big equities, and they may not have that breadth of funds to undertake large scale projects. So we have seen that in most of the cases the companies inject 10 to 20% equity. I mean, even in the large scale projects, they inject 20% equity and 80% of the loan, or I mean, it can vary from case to case basis as per the requirements of the companies, that the companies raise funds through the creditors, and most of the financial institutions are ready to inject or give credit to the companies. So a parallel law has to protect the interest of the creditors. We have seen the banking laws which secure the creditors in case the companies are unable to pay their debt. They file a suit for recovery and recover their loans along with the markup. In the Companies Act, the creditor rights are secured, and as an example, we can see there is a section 164 which empowers the directors to nominate their directors on the board of a company. I mean, the company have their own directors, but since the creditors have special interest in the company, so they have the right to nominate directors. Then other than the filing of or pursuing the voluntary winding up process, to short of that, the company law also provide the mechanism to settle their affairs with the company without pursuing the winding up itself, and that is the compromise with the creditors. And if at all a company is reached with compromise with the creditors, the SECP then can accept that compromise, and in other public sector companies such power is again vested with the court. That we have seen that if there are instances where a compromise has been entered or a scheme of arrangement has been approved, it is ratified by the courts, and the mergers and acquisitions, all these exercises are done by the companies, but these are subsequently approved either by the SECP, and in case of public sector companies or large scale companies, the such power is vested again with the company court. So first we see the members voluntary winding up. In the members voluntary winding up, the crucial factor is the solvency of the company. That means that if the company has more assets than its liabilities, then the law allows the company to pursue the voluntary winding up. And in this regard, the important document is the affidavit or an undertaking in the nature of a declaration that the members will have to file with the SECP, that they declare under oath that the company is solvent and they are in a position to pay all the debts of the company. And in that situation, all the proceedings of the winding up is managed by the members themselves. So under section 347, there are two instances given when a company can be wound up voluntarily. One is that it passes the resolution as a result of the expiry of the period for its duration. So the first instance is that when the company was created, it was conceived for a specific purpose or for a specific period. So the articles itself state that on happening of a certain event, the company shall be dissolved, or the articles state the time duration after which the company shall be dissolved. So under subsection A of 347, the company might pass a resolution that it should be wound up because such an occurrence have taken place. The second option with the management of the company is to pass a special resolution, and it is not contingent upon any fact. The only factor relevant of passing such a resolution is the, as I've told earlier, is the declaration of solvency. Then section 348 states that the voluntary winding up commences from the date of passing of the resolution. The purpose of having such a section is that sometime it becomes relevant to actually know that when the proceeding of the proceeding of the winding up actually took place. So for giving a relevant date, the law states that it will always be the date on which such a resolution have been passed. And because subsequently it might take some time, maybe 3 to 6 or even a couple of years to conclude these proceedings. But at all times, when a question will arise that when the commencement started, so it always be deemed to be started on the date of filing of the filing itself, or rather the passing of the resolution. And under section 150 of the Companies Act, every special resolution has to be filed with the registrar of SECP within 14 days of passing of such resolution. Then after passing the resolution, the company generally ceases to carry on any of its business. The only benefit of having such a clause is to secure the outside investors or the shareholders who may not invest or should do any business with the company. However, if it is, there are certain matters, if those are not closed, the company might conclude all those businesses. Then in the proviso, section 349 says that corporate state and corporate powers of the company shall continue. So the corporate status of the company, having an independent status of owning the assets, owning the property, and a right of sue or being sued, or all the other powers of the company under the Companies Act shall sustain. Then under section 350, because all these proceedings has to be conducted in the public domain, once a resolution of voluntary winding up is passed, the company is required to give notice in the newspapers, at least in one issue each of a daily newspaper of it is either an English, rather it should be an English as well as an Urdu language newspaper. And if such publication is not made, it is a violation and it is punishable under level 1 penalty. The standard scale of these penalties are given under section 479 of the Companies Act, and according to that section, level 1 penalty is 25,000, and it can also be, the penalty can be 500 more for each day the default continues. And under level 2, the penalty is 500,000 with 1,000 rupees per day if the violation continues, and the highest degree of penalty is rupees 100 million with 500,000 rupees penalty per day if the default continues. So in case of a member's voluntary winding up, the main requirement is that the company's assets should be more than its liabilities. So under section 351, it requires the board of directors to make a declaration that they have made a full inquiry into the affairs of the company, and after having done so, they have formed the opinion that the assets of the companies are more than the liabilities. Or the board can say in the declaration that the management of the company can settle all the issues with the creditors without they being going to the court or involving the any other forum like SECP, and the company is solvent. Then subsection 2 states the requirements of such declaration, that this declaration has to be made within 5 weeks immediately preceding the date of resolution for winding up, because once the resolution has been passed, so such an undertaking has to be given within 5 weeks immediately, and it has to be also filed with the company registration office. Then it should also state that the declaration is not to give effect to any fraud to any person or the creditors. Then it should also contain a report of the auditors, and it is just to give effect or just to vouch what the management is saying, that auditors should also say that they have seen the financial position of the profit and loss account of the company, and they are satisfied that the company is actually solvent, and they are making such a report to this effect. Then subsection 3 requires that after the passing of the declaration and within further 5 weeks, the company is expected to pay all the debts to its creditors. And if they do not make payment to the creditors within a date which they have specified in the declaration, then it will be presumed that such a declaration was made without having reasonable grounds, and because the management will fail to pay the debts within the given time in the declaration, they are liable to pay a penalty of level 3. Section 352 differentiates between the creditors and the members' voluntary winding up, and it states that if the members pass a resolution to the effect of insolvency, then it is a members' voluntary winding up, and if such a declaration is not made, then it will be considered as a creditor's voluntary winding up. So it follows that if the company is not making such a declaration, then it will be considered that it is not a solvent company, and it is insolvent, and creditors then have the right to have their meeting and initiate the voluntary winding up. Then, like others mode of winding up, a liquidator has to be appointed even in the case of a voluntary winding up, because it has to be a neutral person who will see all these affairs. The liquidator has vast powers. We will see in detail the duties of the liquidator under the voluntary winding up. But generally, the liquidator has the same powers which he has under the winding up proceeding under the supervision of the court or through the court's winding up, and he has some additional powers which are given under section 372, which we will shortly see. So in the voluntary winding up case, the company can choose one or more liquidators who will wound up the affairs of the company and distribute assets after realizing all the assets of the company. So on appointment of the liquidator, powers of the board shall cease except of giving a notice of resolution to wind up, or appointment of the liquidators, or a filing of consent of liquidator in pursuance of section 351 and 363. Then subsection 3 speaks about the remuneration. Remuneration of the liquidator has to be fixed, and it is generally on the percentage of the amount realized by him by disposal of assets, or it can be fixed by the company, and the rate of such percentage can also differ from case to case basis. And as regard to monthly allowance of the remuneration of the liquidator, he is bound to conclude all the proceedings within 1 year, and the company has the choice to fix either the monthly allowance or a percentage of the amount which is equal to the realization or the amount the company shall receive after realization and sale of its assets. Then as regard to the enhancement of the remuneration, it appears to me that it's a typo error, because under the court supervisions winding up, the remuneration of the liquidator is fixed by the court, and it cannot be subsequently enhanced without the permission of the court. So in my view, in a voluntary winding up, such a power could have been exercised by the company, but because since it is again written by the court, so once company fixes the remuneration of the liquidator, then if the company wants to increase it, they will have to approach to the court for seeking such permission, and the court in certain cases might reduce the remuneration of the liquidator. Then subsection 6, 7 and 8 requires that if the liquidator resigns, then he can be replaced, and if he leaves the company by his choice, he will have to return all the remuneration which was paid to him by the company. Then under section 354, if the liquidator leaves the company due to death or resignation or otherwise, then the company has a choice through a general meeting to fill that vacancy by appointing a person who has given his consent to act as liquidator. So meeting to fill the vacancy shall be initiated by the outgoing liquidator himself, but in case he dies or there are more than one liquidator, then the remaining liquidator can initiate that process, and if even the remaining liquidator fails, then any contributory of the company can approach the commission to initiate such meeting. So the meeting will be held as per, generally the meetings are held under section 132, 133. It can be an extraordinary general meeting or an annual general meeting, but the commission can also, on the application of the outgoing liquidator, can regulate the affairs of such meeting. And if there is a default, this provision, the violation will be punishable with a level 1 penalty. So once a liquidator is appointed, he is required to file his nomination with the registrar SECP within 10 days of his appointment under section 355 of the Companies Act. Then section 356 empowers the liquidator to accept shares as consideration for sale of property of a company. This power is given to the liquidator because in certain scenario the property of the company is sold, and in return the acquiring company might be interested to paying the not paying the amount in cash, but they offer their own equity for the transferor company. So we have seen the voluntary winding up of the members is premised on the assumption that the company has more assets than its liabilities. But if during the conducting the proceedings the liquidator is of the opinion that the assets of the companies are not enough to pay its debt and the company is actually insolvent as opposed to what the management has proposed or declared, then the liquidator is required to summon a meeting of the creditors because they are the main affectee or likely to be affected, because the assets are not either realized and not enough for clearing all the debts, or during the course of the winding up the assets might be devalued, or for any there is another unforeseen claim which changes the dimension of the position of the management, who actually said that the company is solvent. But in case the liquidator is of a different opinion, then he will call the meeting of the creditors so as to tell them that assets and liabilities of the company and all these particulars will be put before the meeting to have a decision from the creditors. Then basically these are the creditors then to decide the further fate of the company and the mode of the winding up, and in that regard they have the choice to either continue with the same liquidator or they can change the liquidator. And even in the other modes of winding up, we have seen that even if the liquidator has to be appointed from the panel of the SECP, but the Companies Act allows the creditors who have 60% or more value of their loan from the as compared to the paid up capital of the company, they have the choice that they can appoint a liquidator of their choice. Then we have seen that every company is required to hold annual general meeting under section 132, and if the company is under the process of voluntary winding up, then the liquidator is required to hold a general meeting within 60 days from the close of first year after the commencement of winding up. That the main purpose is to show the general meeting that what are the affairs of the company, and he will put before the meeting the audited accounts of the company and his own report and dealings and the conduct of the company's winding up during the preceding period from the date of winding up, and he shall also forward by post to every contributee a copy of the accounts and the report as contained in clause B.